Hi, Mike here from Emerging Lifesaving Technologies. Thanks for tuning in. The purpose of this video is to show you what comes in the kit, how it all fits together, and also to show you some of the subtle design elements that make the installation easier and also add to the durability of the ELT. There's a lot to cover, so let's get started. When you open the box and inventory the parts, you'll find the ELT itself, the mounting tray with a Velcro strap, the antenna, 5-foot lengths of terminated coax for both the 406 and GPS, the remote switch, all of your installation hardware. The only thing that you're not going to get with this is the interconnect cable that goes from the switch to the ELT, because we don't know how long that run's going to be, but we do provide you with all of the termination hardware for it. If you take a peek at this mounting tray, you can see it has multiple hole patterns, so it should just bolt right into where your existing ELT is without any structural modifications. Once mounted, the ELT rests in this tray and then is held in place with a Velcro strap. Just Velcro? Yep, that's all it takes. If you look at the ELT, there's a ridge around the casing of the ELT that tucks into the tray. That's really where all the force is absorbed. All of our trays and ELT shells are made from polycarbonate as opposed to ABS plastic. The reason we chose this material is due to the incredible strength and impact resistance compared to ABS. This really increases the survivability of the ELT by a large margin. During testing, this ELT, tray, and strap setup was hit repeatedly with a force of over 500 Gs. Not only did the ELT stay put in the tray, there were no internal failures either. That leads us to the ELT itself. Again, it's built out of polycarbonate as opposed to ABS to increase the survivability of the system in an impact. In fact, our #1 priority when designing this product was to ensure that it would survive the impact first so that it could get the signal out to the satellites. With that in mind, we mounted the internal PC board on shock absorbers and sealed all the wires in a potting compound to help keep the connections sound. We also mounted the battery to the back plate of the ELT with a shock absorbent material so that it won't come loose in a crash. We utilized welded tab connections on the battery instead of solder connections, because solder can be pretty brittle and fail with a shock as low as 4 or 5 G. Remember, this unit was hit repeatedly with over 500 Gs with no failures of any kind. In addition to the durability of the battery mounting, we also provide over 4 hours of transmission time required by the FAA. An ELT is required to transmit for 24 hours. Ours will transmit for over 100. The control panel on the ELT is very straightforward. There's a 3-position switch that functions the same way as the remote switch with a tricolor LED that indicates the status of your ELT. You can accomplish the self-test here or with the remote switch. This sub-D connector connects the ELT to the remote switch. We provide all the connectors and pins, just not the wire. Then you have 2 coax connections for the antenna, BNC for the 406 transmission, and SMA for the GPS. Remember, there's a 12-channel GPS receiver built right into this ELT. There's no need for a nav interface to have your GPS coordinates included in your data transmission. The provided terminated coax cables connect directly to the antenna. Obviously, this is a very unique ELT antenna. We wanted to be sure that it was low profile. Again, our design goal is to provide durable equipment. We built the ELT out of impact and UV resistant polycarbonate. A low profile antenna made from this material is much less likely to become broken in the crash as opposed to an 18-inch long whip or rod antenna. The UV resistance of the polycarbonate also helps with the aesthetics. It's not going to turn yellow or crack after years of exposure. The most unique feature of our antenna, and one that no one else has, is its dual polarity. All other ELT antennas are vertically polarized. So if you roll the aircraft over in a crash, you're transmitting all the energy into the ground. This ELT antenna is both vertically and horizontally polarized. There's the same energy radiated out of the side of the antenna as there is the top. It has a 270-degree transmission field So if you roll the aircraft over or even end up a little bit inverted, you have a much greater likelihood of that signal getting out to the satellites. And remember, that signal has your GPS coordinates built right into it, so they're going to know where you are within 100 meters in the very first minute. Last up is the remote switch. As we covered before, this switch operates identically to the switch here on the ELT with the tricolor LED. You've got the same three-way switch and a tricolor LED. It has three positions: on, arm, and test reset. To keep the installation simple, we've included the required oral alert or buzzer right into the switch. There's no need for extra wires or bracketing to mount the buzzer. It's also important to note that the buzzer is in the cockpit, where the crew is much more likely to hear it. One last minor detail is the actual housing itself. You may or may not be able to see it here, but we've built a little bit of a taper into this switch, so it should slide right into the hole nice and easy. The installation of the entire system is pretty simple. The antenna mounts on top of the airplane. Remember, we've got a GPS patch built right into this antenna, so it's got to be on top of the airplane. The provided coax that's terminated in both BNC and SMA connect the antenna to the ELT, and then you've got the interconnect cable from the ELT to the remote switch. We run power and ground to the remote switch, and what that's for is to run the GPS during normal flight operations. If the power goes out during normal flight, the ELT will recognize that and start pulling power off of its own battery to run the GPS if it's required. So that's it. It's pretty simple. If accomplished while the interior is out during an annual on a standard non-pressurized aircraft, it should only add about 4 hours of installation time. So there you have it, a complete overview of our ELT 406 GPS. As always, we welcome any questions or comments in the comments section below, or you can contact us directly at 888-406-ELT1, or in the video description below there's a link to our website.
We wish you nothing but blue skies and happy flying. But if the fateful day arrives where you are relying on your ELT, our ELT 406 GPS can take you
from recovery to rescue.